The DigiPodcast, Digital Trends in Supply Chain Management.
Hello and welcome to our DigiPodcast. I'm Thomas Holzer from Siemens STM Digi Network with the DigiPodcast, a podcast on digital innovative topics for procurement in the future. But stop now. This time it's not procurement, we talk about something different. We talk about our factories. I have the pleasure that I have the head of factory digitalization program for Siemens as my guest, Petra Mon. So welcome to our DigiPodcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Let's go into details. Can you explain what is meant with factory digitalization?
As you all know, digitalization plays a role in our everyday life since quite a while, and it does play an increasingly big role also in our factories. And the factory digitalization program is all about factories learning from each other on how to best use digital tools in their manufacturing processes. And not only that, whilst we are learning from each other, we integrate internal solution providers like Advanta or DI Software, and we all learn together. And so when learning together, we can actually also transport and transfer that to our external customers. Our factories do not only make sure they digitalize internally, they also bring it to the external world.
That's a really great step forward. Being already a digital leader, we can now get even better. But what does this mean in practice?
You know, it's actually really tricky in practice because we have 120 factories all across the world in Siemens, and they are very different from each other. So we needed to offer something to the factories which are maybe a little less mature. What they get from us is a roadmap. They get an assessment, and we make a plan with them which tool to implement where and when. And the other factories who maybe already have a plan what they want to do, for them we offer expert working groups. So we get their lone wolves, their experts together, and they work commonly and jointly on technologies that move our factories forward.
Wow. That's a real challenge. Being engineer by myself, I totally understand what you're meaning. And how do you dealing with this challenge? Because it's not only technology, it's also, I think, a lot about people.
Absolutely. It's a lot also about changing the mindset of people, because we need to now work across our silos, across BUs and businesses. So all our experts have to also be very open and share amongst each other their success stories. And I do tell you, we have quite some success stories, and it does work.
Remembering the success stories, in my previous life, I had the pleasure to work in the Elektronikwerk Amberg that collected awards and prizes. And several times our former Chancellor Angela Merkel was there. So what's the input from Amberg and Gunther? By the way, best regards, Gunther, you're doing a brilliant job into your program.
Many inputs come from Amberg, as they do come from other factories. It's really about sharing is caring. One example I can tell you about is, for instance, the Line Designer Toolbox. That was indeed a tool developed by the Amberg factory to automatize the input of machine data into our Line Designer tools. So they made that a lot easier using a toolbox, and this toolbox is something that is now being shared also, for instance, with other electronic factories, such as the one in Zug in Switzerland or others which are from SI.
I think that's really amazing, because in the past there was a high focus on Amberg, and now listening that Zug, maybe the Elektronikwerk in Berlin or Rastatt or other factories are actively participating. So Petra, chapeau, you're doing a great job, because this didn't happen in the past. And being such, say, smart person to bring other parties to the party, how are you dealing with the skeptical ones? What's here the solution to solve this challenge?
Well, you know, I think it's actually quite similar to a party. You have to bring the lone wolves together. You have to really make sure you do know in which factory you have good experts, and bring them to the table together and let them work together from the very start. So it's not about sharing a finished solution, but co-creating, working together on developing also new solutions. And by that, they get to know each other very well, and they are less skeptical.
Wow. So I hear co-creating, collaboration. I think that will be the ecosystem of the future. STM is a part of this ecosystem. So do you have any supply chain specific solutions?
Sure, supply chain is a big topic at the moment with all the material shortage we have. And one problem that we face there is that we need to forecast our inventories. We need to really be sure to know in advance already what we have on stock. And for that, we use a tool which is called Inventory Recommender, which is part of Lotti also, which enables us to, with an artificial intelligence, predict our stock levels.
That's really good to hear, because Lotti, for the people who are not in details, was a part of our think tank and incubator approach, and it's great to hear that you're scaling up this solution. So thanks a lot for this, taking care of one of our kids. But now coming back to your factory digitalization program, what can we expect from you and the program in future?
We certainly want to remain global. So we want to be present in India, also in China, in the USA, and want to make sure that we scale up factory digitalization also in those regions of the world. Another thing that we want to do is to strengthen our role as customer zero. Now we are increasingly working together with our solution developers, our product development, and we are the first ones to actually have the privilege of giving feedback and, steering also the requirement list of these solutions. And that's definitely something where we want to increase our role in.
For my listeners, I would like to highlight this statement. We have the privilege to test. Others would say we have the burden to find mistakes. So I think Petra is a living example of a great leader and also a great mindset change. This means for me this program has a huge potential, bring benefits to our customers. Therefore, that's something we will focus on also in the future. So if you want to know more about this program, you can stay in contact or get in contact with Petra. You can find her on LinkedIn.
Sure, I'm very happy to connect on LinkedIn. Also, you can visit our SharePoint. We will leave all the details in the notes.
That's great. So, coming now to my last but not least favorite question, who is Petra?
Well, besides my job, actually, I'm a sailor. I love to sail in the Mediterranean Sea, something I'm also going to be doing this summer. My most favorite trip this summer will be from Faro over the Strait of Gibraltar to Ibiza. So if you're around there, looking forward to meet you on the sea.
You see, also in a private life, Petra is taking real challenges. So thanks a lot for having you as a really brilliant guest. And I think we will hear so much more in the future. So thanks to all the listeners. Thanks to Petra. If you have questions or want to find out more about the Digi Network, reach out to our internet page, siemens.com/DigiNetwork. I'm looking forward having you as a listener at our next episode. Yours, Thomas Holzner from the Siemens SCM Digi Network. Goodbye.
The DigiPodcast, Digital Trends in Supply Chain Management.